to record today's event. So I just clicked record, and at the end, we should have a little bit of time for question and answers. But if you have any questions that come up, as our guest speaker is speaking, feel free to raise your hand. When we acknowledge that you have your hand raised, you can unmute yourself, or if you prefer, you can put it in the chat and Caitlin will be monitoring the chat for us. Also, towards the end of today's event, we will ask you to turn on your cameras to take a picture, or what I guess it's a screenshot. I call it a picture. And Caitlin will handle that for us as well. And if I forget, she'll make sure I remember. We'll also ask you to do a survey. So all we're going to do is drop the link in the chat box. It'll take you about 5 minutes. But Carlos, I don't know if you want to go ahead and unmute yourself and share about the survey.
Yes, hi, my name is Carlos Gomez. We are working with RAM to help evaluate this event. And at the end of this event, like around 12:40-ish, we'll be dropping a link in the chat. And we would highly appreciate if anyone who is still on could take the survey. It would really help improve for future events in RAMP and get good feedback to help with it. So please.
Thank you, Carlos. So again, this event tends to kind of go all the way to the end. So at some point, Carlos will probably drop that link in the chat, and then we'll do it again before we log off. And we'll also send you an email if we don't hear from you after the event. And it won't take you very long. It'll take like 5 minutes to complete the survey. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our guest speaker. And it gives me great pleasure to introduce my good and longtime friend, Robert Gallegos. Robert grew up in Brawley, California as the oldest of 5 children. He attended Cal Poly Pomona as a low-income first-generation college student, and he received his bachelor's degree in engineering technology. And after several years and various jobs, including being the first director of Cal Poly's Upper Bound Math Science project, Robert attended Western University to become a physician assistant. So we're going to hear from him how you go from engineering to becoming a PA. He has been serving as a PA for 11 years now. One thing I admire about Robert in the almost 30 years that I've known him is that he loves, yep. I know, I was like doing the math. I'm like, okay, wow. And he loves to create goals. He will create short-term goals, long-term goals, daily goals. Like he never settles. I remember, being at his apartment years ago, and he had them on the mirror of his bathroom. The other thing I admire is his concern with being a contributing member in the community and giving back. So I call him Bobby, but Robert, go ahead and take it away.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Lara. And it's been 30 years. Wow, time does fly, doesn't it? Well, I'm here at Providence at the clinic right now, and we usually start our meetings here at our every day with a quote, or we call it a reflection. And I would like to start that today by just saying a quote that kind of which I like, and I kind of follow this throughout my life. It's by Jesse Owens, and the quote is, "We have dreams, but in order to make dreams come into reality, it takes an awful lot of determination, dedication, self-discipline, and effort." So love that quote. And another quote I like to emphasize is by Bruce Lee. He's a martial artist. Everybody probably knows who he is. And his quote was, "Be like water." And that's pretty much how I've kind of flow with I go with the flow. Whatever what's blessed in front of me or what God's given me, I kind of just go with it. And I've been blessed to have people in my life to kind of direct me where to go. As Laura said, I'm from Brawley, oldest of 5. If you don't know where Brawley is, it's about, if you know Glamis, it's just the city right before Glamis. It's about 3 hours from here and about 10 miles north of the Mexican border. And it's pretty much an agricultural area. It's surrounded by fields. I did once upon a time work in the fields before. Did the melon, watermelon, did the grapes, and did that during the summer. And then my dad told me, "You want to do this for the rest of your life, or do you want to go to school?" I'm going to school. But the thing is, when in Brawley, we're limited in what exposure. We're limited in exposure to universities. I think the nearest university at that time was in San Diego, which is another 2 hours away. So I didn't have much of a advising for high school. During high school, I just applied to two universities, Cal Poly and UC Davis. And my dad and my parents just kept enforcing going to college, and I got into Cal Poly Pomona. And the thing is, I just didn't know what to major at that time. And the one thing I did like was aviation. Love airplanes. For some reason, I got the bug on that, and then ended up going to Cal Poly Pomona in engineering. And then there was an emphasis on aerospace aeronautical, which I did. And then the one thing I do emphasize when you're at the university is there's always people there to help you. And one of my things I do kind of regret a little is asking for help. There's a lot of programs, especially now, that they're willing to help you with my writing. My writing wasn't the best at that time. So there's always there. At that time, there was EOP. I don't think there was RAMP at that time. So, but always ask for help. There's always there people there to willing to give you some support. So when I came up here to Cal Poly Pomona, I didn't have a car. So for 2 straight years, I just had a bike. So I was driving back, and I lived off campus. So I lived off campus, went to school with my bike. I worked, I had side jobs. I worked at the Commons as a dishwasher. I was working in the information booth, and ended up going and working for Vaughn's as a stalker. And then I ended up going to Red Robin, and I was a cook for a year. And then I ended up being a server, then a bartender. And I think that after college, I was okay. My first year, my grades were okay. And during the middle years, I was up and down. I did fail a few classes, but I just got back up and kept going. And the problem was I didn't ask for help. And I think that's one thing that I emphasize. If you need tutoring, ask for help. I think there's an MEP program. Back then, it was called the Minority Engineering Program. Now I think it's called Maximizing Engineering. There's an EOP, there's RAMP. So take advantage of that. So what the thing is, another advice I do give is that when you're at the university level, take these professional development classes, interviewing techniques, how to do a resume, how to do a CV. If you can get an internship, do that. You got to get yourself out there, because when people are hiring out there, they want somebody with experience, or at least with some experience in the industry. After graduating from Cal Poly Pomona, I got into engineering jobs. I did manufacturing, mechanical, some industrial engineering for some companies, but I still love flying. So I ended up going to flight school at Mount Sac and Brackett Airport, got my 500 hours. I was thinking about going to the airlines. And I was thinking, okay, so I want to fly. I want to get work near the airport. So I found this position at Cal Poly Pomona, and I was, like Laura said, I was the academic coordinator, and then I became a director for the Upper Bound Math Science program, which I fell in love with. Love the students, love teaching, love advising, and we went to Washington, D.C. with some students, and we walked the Hill, supporting for our grants with TRIO programs. So the thing is that there was one mentor. I'm not sure if she still works at Cal Poly. Her name was Dr. Wade Bidlack. She kept telling me that I should go into medicine, to family medicine, and not sure why. She kept, encouraging me. And then one day I just took an anatomy class and fell in love with that. So I love aviation, I love education, and now I love medicine. And then my route was either to become a nurse practitioner, physician assistant at that time, or MD. And since I was a little older, I didn't want to be in school for about 10 years. I ended up going to PA. And PA is, all you need is a 4-year degree, a bachelor's, and then a master's after that. So basically what the PA, what they teach us at school, it's pretty much 4 years of medical school, they put it in 2 years. Pretty intense. It's very intense, very competitive to get in. Ended up going to Western University, and it's the best decision I ever made. We train us in the medical model like the MDs. I'm able to diagnose and examine and prescribe, do procedures where I'm able to do emergency medicine, family medicine, orthopedics, OB-GYN, general surgeries. Well, we can assist with general surgeries, pediatrics, geriatrics, cardiovascular surgery. That was probably one of my best rotations. So when you have somebody's heart in your hands and you're able to do some bypass surgeries and valve replacements with the docs, and then the cardiology. So basically, that's. Then I try to go back to my hometown in Brawley after I graduated from Western University, and I guess I pretty much lived in the city for so long, I just couldn't do the small town environment anymore. I did work under an awesome doctor in Imperial Valley. He was the first doctor who opened the HIV clinic down there, and I did learn a lot about medicine under him, and then been doing it for about 11 years now. I work in Pomona. I've been working in Pomona for the past 11 years, right across the street from Western University. Now I'm doing, I actually have 3 jobs right now. I work in Providence under urgent care. I'm the only provider here at the clinic. With the medical assistant, and I see a variety of cases here. And also I work at the Santa Ana School District in the COVID testing department, which I noticed, and I've been in the front lines ever since the beginning of COVID. And majority of our cases were coming from Santa Ana, Anaheim area, and Garden Grove area. Because I work in LC, so I've been doing that for a while. And then also I do telemedicine on the side, which is I'm able to see patients online and diagnose them, and then prescribe what they need for me. So I think that's, and then the next step for me would be functional medicine, which is it's a different type of medicine. It's just seeing the patient as a whole, instead of treating the disease, we treat the patient a little bit more holistically. It's not disease oriented, it's more like health oriented. It's patient centered, not doctor centered. So, and it's more preventive. So what I'm trying to do now, my next step, and like Lara said, my goal is this type of medicine, it's usually in the Newport area and South Kelsey area. What I'm trying to do is bring this into the lower resource clinics. That's my next step. Majority of my patients, a lot of my patients are diabetic in the Pomona area. So, and I think that's one disease I'm trying to focus on right now because it does lead to other diseases, coronary artery disease, renal disease, blindness. So, and a lot of it, it's just because no access to medicine. And I'm trying to bring that into the Pomona area. Hopefully I'm able to do that in the future. But the thing is, I do emphasize for you students and anyone actually, it's find a mentor. The mentor will guide you and teach you. And if you want me to be your mentor in some way, I would love to. I've been a mentor for second year students, pre-PA students, and my door is open for any of you that need some help, especially in the medical field. And I think that's it's one of the best decisions I've made, like I said before. But I've been in engineering. I've done other things too. I only have 30 minutes. So I want to be able to answer some questions, and especially if you want to go into the medical field. So I think, is there any questions?
I don't see any questions yet, and you probably got a good 10 more minutes if you want to keep rambling.
Well, the thing is, like, I mean, the thing is, I don't want to ramble too much because I'm not talking about myself. I'm not used to that. The thing is that my route, the thing is that when I went into the medical field, I was going into the law enforcement side too. The thing is that it was either law enforcement. After engineering, I started going into law enforcement because my he's a police officer. He's a retired homicide detective. And I was going that route, and I was going the federal route, the FBI route. They sent me for interviewing in the East Coast for special agents and all that. But I think that I prayed about it, and I think I got accepted to. Oh, the one thing I do want, I got accepted to Western University, and that made my decision. But this is what happened after I stopped. When I left Upper Belknap Science as a director, I pretty much just said, okay, I need to burn my ships. I need to focus on going into medicine. So I stopped being a director, didn't get in the first year thinking I was going to get in. And so I said, oh man, what am I going to do? I didn't get in. So I was waitlisted. So I went to go talk to the chair and said, okay, how am I going to get in for next year? So I was determined. I was dedicated, determined. I was in discipline, just to try to get into these classes and try to get into this program. And for the following year, so I did everything what he told me to do. And even though I was waitlisted, I just kept going. And my dad and my mom always told me, "Si se puede." What says Chavez, and that's the battle cry for the United Farm Workers. And I kept pursuing. It could be done, and I kept doing it, pursuing it, and dedicated my whole life to that. Is to try to get into the master's program. So even though you're given a no or a rejection, just got to get back on it, and just focus on, and getting into reaching your goals. Because if you don't write these goals down, they're just wishes, and you got to write them down and put a deadline onto them if you can, and just focus. There's going to be days that you don't want to go to school. There's going to be days that why am I studying this? And there's a reason for it. There's a reason. And then even on the days you don't want to get up, or the days, why am I doing this? Those are the days you need to go. It makes you stronger. Trust me, there was a few times that I wanted to just stop in the medical, when I was in medical school. It's just, why am I putting myself through this? I have a degree in engineering or in education. And what motivated me is I'm able to help more people. I'm able to help my family, help my friends, which I'm doing it right now. So you just gotta just focus and just be determined and be dedicated to your profession and your career and keep learning. Where that's the one thing I do emphasize too is be a long time, lifelong learner. Keep learning, keep getting better in what you do every day if you can. But the thing is that there'll be days when I just didn't want to do it anymore, but you should keep going, and at the end it's well worth it. Especially getting a degree, first generation. Once you graduate, then your siblings will follow your footsteps, and then down the line. And then that's what I got into advising at Cal Poly Pomona. I wasn't given that during high school. I didn't have that at all. I wish I would have known. I would have probably applied to UCLA or USC or all these other UCSD. And that's why I got into upper bound math science advising. And that's why I want to keep mentoring. So it kind of like, it's a full circle because all my skills that I've had in the past as an engineer, as a flying, now a teacher, and now in medicine, I teach here. I teach at the Providence. I'm also participated in Flying Doctors of Mercy. So I'm able to use my skills in flying and go to clinics in Mexico with Flying Doctors of Mercy. So kind of a full circle. There's a reason for everything that I've gone through in my past. And now it's well worth it. The hard work is well worth it. But like I said, I do emphasize in mentoring, finding a mentor, and don't quit. Is there anything else? Any questions?
Thank you, Robert. Does anybody have questions? We have one in the chat. When did you start writing down your goals, and did you see an effect when you started writing them down?
Yeah, my goals. Well, the thing is, like, okay, I wrote my own personal constitution. You know, there's a constitution and what's important to me. You know, my family, my faith, integrity. You know, I kind of wrote that down and what each segment means to me. The one story that got to me, it really hit me, was a story about, it's about an I-beam. I'm not sure, there's a story about the I-beam. It's a, you know, those construction working I-beams. You know, if you have one on the ground and you're on one end and I'm on the other end, and I tell you, okay, I'll give you $100 to cross it. And obviously you'll say yes because it's on the ground. You take the same I-beam or same plank, you put it on put one end on one building and put the other end on the other building. Okay, and there's like, maybe it's 100 stories tall, high, 100 stories high, and it's raining, it's windy up there, and you know, most likely you'll fall if you cross. But what it is. So my question to you is, okay, I'll give you $100 to cross it, and you'll say no. Most of you will say no. $1 million. Some of you will say yes, some of you say no, and you cross an I-beam, and you're 100 stories high. Now I take your dad, your mom, your brother or sister, and tell you, I'll drop them if you don't cross an I-beam. And those are the people or the things that you care most about, is who you cross that I-beam for. And so what you want to do is make sure you tell them, you know, I love you, you know, to those people you cross the I-beam for, because those are your main goals. Those are the people that are important in your life. Those are the things that motivates you and the reason why you're doing things. So you just say, and the one thing I learned from this story is that you want to make sure you tell them what they mean to you, because one day they're not gonna be here. At least, because the next day we're not guaranteed tomorrow. So you make sure you tell them, I love you. And at least you'll know if something does happen, you did your best to tell them how you feel. But that's one story that I've always kept in my heart, is those people that I would cross the IV for. And then with that, I developed my goals around that. Okay. And then how I can support the community with my goals, how to develop myself with my goals. So I pretty much write like a bucket list of things I want to do. But now then I write my goals daily goals, weekly goals, monthly goals. So it does work, but I do recommend not, when you're writing daily goals, just write 2 goals, and weekly goals, write 2 or 3 goals, because when you start writing 10 goals in one day, or 10 things you want to do in 1 week, you get overwhelmed. And it also can get discouraging because you're not crossing them out. So my focus right now, I just write 2 goals per day, or maybe just 1, to make sure I'm getting it done. And then you just and then just add another one when you're done. But the eating story is a very important story for me. It's who I would cross it for. Okay, and those are the people that mean that's my life. Those people I will cross it for. I will risk my life for them. And after that, I just kind of use that, and then use my goals as my educational goals, career goals, my fitness goals, and then so on. So it does work.
When did you start writing goals?
Man,
When did that practice start for you?
when did it start?
High school?
No, not in high school. I started poly in college because it happened in college because I needed to raise money for my rent. So I didn't. My first goals was financial goals, because I was here. I was 17 years old by myself, and I didn't have a car, and just had a bike, and then I had these odd jobs. I did get some Cal grants and some financial aid, but I needed to work. So my goals, that's what it started. Writing my goals down during in college and then I just kind of got better and better along the way. So now I categorize my goals. I categorize my goals with family and friends, financial, fitness, and fun. The 4 Fs. I categorize that, and then I focus on a lot of family and a lot of family. That's the most important to me. So I focus on that, and then fitness. You got to make sure you're in good health, decent health, to be able to help. And especially mental health, physical health, you got to make sure you're in a good space. So I guess college was the starting point of my goal writing days. Yeah, I'm still going.
Yeah, I mean, you've accomplished several of your goals, but yet you keep creating new ones.
Yeah, I mean, I realized after working with so many patients and thousands of patients I've seen, the one thing I do see a trend is that when we start feeling stagnant and not growing, not learning, depression sets in, and I've seen that, and I think that if we keep moving forward, and my mom always kept saying "adelante," keep moving forward. I think that's kind of like growing as a person and get out of that circle of comfort, and continue to learn, and I think kind of like helps you with depression and anxiety. But I think if it's it's just keep moving forward. So
okay. We have a few more questions in the chat. The next one is, how has your experience been as a first generation in PA? This is coming from Abigail, who's also aspiring to be a PA. So I just found you a mentee.
It's fine.
How was your experience overall as a first gen PA?
First gen PA, first gen, and it was the best decision. The thing is that was the first one in our family to go to university, first person to graduate in medicine. I am able to help my family so much, and just I'll see their labs and I'll be able to help them in any way I can. The thing is that the financial part of it, as a first generation, there's scholarships out there, but it's usually medical field, you have to kind of take loans out, and I do notice that we need more minorities in the medical field. We do. And I've seen that as I've seen there's not many Spanish speaking, but I do think that it wasn't too bad as a first generation, but one thing the big thing is that I was able to help my family and friends, and I still do, especially during COVID. COVID was just crazy. I'm exposed to COVID now, here at the clinic, ever since the beginning. So I think that you're able to educate, and that was the one thing as a first generation is education. Educate my family, educate my friends about the diseases, and I think that's my goal, is to teach and teach anyone actually. So.
Okay, our next question is, how did you find the courage to change fields when you were so well established in your career?
Don't know. Don't know. I think that from Upper Bound Math Science program, I was a director, and I think that I just like there was a calling. There was a calling, a deeper calling that I want to help more. I was able to help students in the Gary and Pomona High School area, but I wanted to do more, and help the community even more. And I think that for me, since I love anatomy and physiology, I think that, and I don't have any kids, no kids, that kind of helped too. But I was able to take 3 steps back, or 2 steps back, 3 steps forward. But the thing is that it's you just got to take that risk, and it's well worth it. I remember that when I was going to medical school. I've done so many crazy jobs out there. I was a limo driver at one time. I was a substitute teacher. At the same time, I was trying to get shifts here and there for subbing, and that got me through. And I was able to support myself that way and get myself through school. But sometimes you just got to get that courage just to pursue your goals, because I know it's scary. I was scared, but the thing is, if you really want it, if you have that dedication and determination, you have that discipline, you can get it done, and it's well worth it. It's PA. It's one of the top positions in U.S. News. It's a lot of schools are opening up for PA programs now, but the medical field it's a good industry.
Yeah. So just to be clear, you quit your job so you can go on to medical school, did not get in, and then still have to somehow support yourself.
Yeah, I was a little cocky back then, I guess. Yeah.
And so you were making cash by being a limo driver, and other jobs but I also remember you were saving up, knowing that this was your plan.
Yeah, I was saving up, and then thinking, I thought I was going to get in the first year, thinking, it was a very humbling experience, trust me. The thing is that but once I got that or not a rejection, but waitlisted, I drove down to the school, and I made an appointment with the chair, And I talked to the chair, and I said, hey, introduce myself. And I said, how can I get in the following year? And he gave me a list of things to do. And I did everything. I made sure that, and he interviewed me in the following year, and I got in. But the thing is that it's that focus, it's like, okay, no, I won't take no for an answer. And which helped me to get into the university. So
Before I go on to the next question, you've made reference 2 or 3 times that you went to the chair, you did everything they asked you to do. For those who are considering the medical field, what are those things that they could or should be doing before applying to medical school?
okay, so make sure you want to go to medical. Number one, okay, it's not easy in the beginning. So you like to make sure that you love anatomy, you love physiology. That's the one thing, because it is intense, and you got to make sure that you love it and you like it. The other thing is, if you are going to go to the PA program, they want you to do a lot of community service. So that will, you want that in your application. You've done community service. Volunteer. I was volunteering at the emergency room at Pomona Valley Hospital. So go and do that. Make sure that's what you want to do, and then do community service, and the one thing is with the PA program is that, and I was part of the interviewing panel at Western University. And the one thing is that once you get an interview, you're even with everybody. It's how you answer these questions. So I'll mentor you and how to answer these questions. If I'll teach you how to do that. But the one thing is, you got to make sure that's what you want to do is medicine, because it does get intense, but it's well worth it.
Okay, so it sounds like dedicating a lot of your time to the field is one way to improve your application. And maybe doing some volunteer work in the medical field so that you can have that experience to make sure that it's a good fit.
Yeah, and then not only in the medical field, I was doing Special Olympics. I was doing veterans. I was volunteering there. So it's volunteering not only in the medical field, but volunteering anywhere. That's what you want on your application too. And I continue to volunteer. Last weekend I did the food bank, LA Food Bank. And then I still go to the Flying Doctors of Mercy in Mexico and TJ, and so I try to do as much as I can for the community. But I have 3 jobs too, so.
Yeah, and then you still have your other goals. Okay, so before I go into the next question, I just want to share Esmeralda's comment. And she said she thinks it's awesome that you dedicated time to many interests that you picked up along your journey. And then Sada has the question, have you experienced any fears and or feelings of imposter syndrome along your journey? And if so, how did you overcome them?
Well, the thing is with you here, and the thing is, that's a good question. Let me think. You just focus on making yourself better. There's the one theory that I focus on, it's called the Kaizen theory. The Kaizen theory is continuous improvement. So you're better today than yesterday. So you keep dedicating yourself to be excellent in what you do. You do see other people. There are, they're brilliant. I'm exposed to that here. And the one thing is, don't compare yourself to anybody. And focus on being the best you can be. That's the one thing you need to do, is be the best you can be, because and that's especially in medical school. When you're in school, you just do your best, and you're not going to remember everything, and you don't want to remember everything, but you won't. I mean, I was a good student. but during medical school, man, you're just happy to get a C or B, but when you're here in the career, just focus on yourself, making yourself better. Learn as much as you can. Keep learning. I keep getting journals. And the one thing I do care is my patients. I focus on my patients and how to make them better, especially with diabetes and other things. But don't compare yourself with anybody. Just focus on improving yourself.
So what I hear is you're as good as anybody else, but at the same time, you're never done growing and learning. Right. Next question is, were there any other ways besides setting specific goals that helped you manage your work-life school balance?
Well, the thing is that I try not to stress too much. That's the one thing I do. I don't know how it's mostly an internal thing. It's like, and that's one of the quotes I had in the beginning was "Be like water." It's by Bruce Lee, and things happen. Life happens. And you just kind of like flow with it, find an answer to the problem. Don't react to it. Just trying to find the answer. But sometimes you just gotta flow with what happens. And other than making goals, I just try to emphasize on a few, not too many, just one or two at a time. And because when you start, like I said before, if you start emphasizing on 10 goals at one time, you're not going to get anything done. We call that shotgunning. You kind of spread your energy to all these places. You don't want that. You want to focus on kind of laser energy. Just focus on one or two if you can. So another, it's just writing them down. And another thing is you have to keep reminding yourself of your goals. You can be focused on just making that rent money or your job or fun, boyfriend and girlfriend. You gotta just keep reminding yourself. That's why I kept those things on the mirror. It's just to remind me that stay focused. Because it's so easy to get distracted. So easy to get distracted and you waste some time. But I think that's one way I remind myself. I wake up in the morning. I say three things. I'm grateful for three things, okay, in the morning. And at night, I reassess what could I've done different all day, for those goals, and anything what I will focus on the next day. So you want to do like a morning kind of quiet time and an evening debriefing, and then set yourself up for the next day. So that's we call that, if you look up the 5-minute journal, that's what it's called. Because you only have 5 minutes, you don't have too much time to do journaling, but 5-minute journal is pretty, it's the best way to do it.
Thank you. Do you know if Western University Pipeline to Health Careers program has volunteer opportunities?
Western University?
Western University Pipeline, I guess Western University has a Pipeline to Health Careers program?
That I don't know. I don't know that one. Okay. I wouldn't know about the pipeline. I would tell you to go introduce yourself to the chair. His name is Roy Gonzalo. Just go over there and say, hey, Robert sent me there, And then I do recommend volunteering at the local hospitals. But it's the pipeline. I don't know much about it, and I'll find out for you.
Thank you. Okay. Next question was, does your clinic offer any volunteer or firsthand experience opportunities for undergraduate students?
Okay, we are working in Pomona, and the answer is yes. But the thing is that we're still in the COVID protocol right now. So once things get a little better, yes. I could have you come in and shadow me and what I do in the clinic, and I get that often. I get pre-PA students and pre-MD students in our clinic, and we actually train second-year students at our clinic in Pomona. So Yeah, the answer is yes. It's just that I need to talk to the supervisor and see what's going on with the COVID protocols. We can exchange information, or we can get it from Laura. No problem.
And how did you find people to shadow yourself when you were going through this process?
Shadow as in PA programs, or yeah.
Yeah, so when you were applying for med school, did you do any shadowing? I know you did a lot of volunteering.
Yeah, I did mostly my volunteering at Pomona Valley Hospital, and got to meet. And the thing is that you want to network. You want to network with people in the industry and just talk to them and just kind of like just listen. Don't, that's why I'm not used to talking too much. You know, I just kind of listen, and that's when you want to learn. You learn from them. You just can listen and watch what they're doing, ask questions. But once I got into the emergency room, then I started talking to some PAs there, and I started asking them, okay, how long they've been doing it, where did they go to school, what would they recommend applying to universities. But that's pretty much the first step, is going volunteering at a hospital.
Okay. So before I do a follow-up question, I will have Caitlin do our screenshot. So if you want to turn your camera on, now's the time to do it, so we can get your face in our screenshot.
Yes, thank you. If you are willing and able to, I am going to take a couple of pictures. I'll give us another second. If you wanted to have your camera on, you can. All right. So I'm going to take a picture in 3, 2, 1. Another one in 3, 2, 1. All right. Thank you.
And a reminder that the survey is in the chat. If you can please click there so that you have access to it once we're signing off. And we understand if you need to sign off at this point. We thank you for coming, but like I said, I kind of had a follow-up question. I just want to dig a little deeper on the volunteer opportunities for those that are interested in going on to medical school. And those who have to log off, again, thank you for joining today. So Robert, if a student is considering this, do they just show up at a hospital and whoever?
Well, each hospital has their own department for volunteering. So there's actually a volunteer office at the hospitals. And sometimes there's a wait list. So you want to get on that list pretty quick. There's a lot of students that want to go into volunteering. So you just go to your local hospital, the volunteering department, and just put your name in there. And there's a whole application you have to go through. At my clinic in Pomona, usually it's through me. Since it's me, the doctor, and then 4 other PAs, pretty much they just kind of like shadow me when I'm there, or when Dr. Perez is there. But if you want to go through our clinic, which is in Pomona, right across the street from Western University, you're welcome. But once we get to this endemic thing, so.
Yeah, I think that has been a little bit of a roadblock for some people who want to do volunteer work in various fields. Even my kids are trying to do volunteer at the public library, and they're like, nope, not yet.
Yeah. And I think that with, since I've been with the frontline, I've been doing it since 2020 with COVID, and the protocol that we have in set at our clinic over there, it's pretty good. So I think we're about to open student shadowing, but just give me the information. I'll let you know right away. Okay. All
right. So
first come, first serve, by the way.
Say that again.
First come, first serve.
Yes. So what I'll do is after today, I will send the link to the survey, just in case you didn't get it at this point, but it is in the chat. And then I will send Robert's email address. Is that the best, the Providence email address, or do you want to use it?
Yeah, there's another address.
Okay. So you'll get that to me, and I'll get it
in, or what?
Yeah, go for it. That's even better. And then Dustin, what did you drop us in there?
It's just a kind of a website that discusses what the PA program, PA field is about, the career outlook, how to become a PA, and how to find a PA job.
Nice. There you go.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dustin. Any last minute questions from anybody? I thought you mentioned that in order to apply for PA, you have to have a master's degree?
No, you have to have a 4-year degree. The one thing okay, so when I was part of the interviewing panel at Western, I noticed that they will recruit students with hard sciences. They took a chance on me because I have an engineering background, you know, because I didn't have a medical background, but I did a lot of community service. But they focus on a lot of biology, a lot of hard sciences degrees. So, you know, depending what school you're applying to, you might want to talk to the advisors at that school, what degrees most likely will get you in. So, yeah, but it's a 4-year degree, and then you get your master's after PA. And then after that, you have to take a big exam. It's a 6-hour exam to become a PA, and you have to redo it every 10 years. And then every 2 years, you have to do 100 hours of medical education. So it's to maintain your certification.
Abigail's asking if the exam is called PANCE? Pants?
Pants. It's called the pants.
Pants? Okay.
Yeah, pants. And then we take it, it's called a pan read. So the pants. It's an intense test. You know, they pretty much everything you learn in those 2 years. In the first 2 years, it's all didactic. You know, it's in class. You know, and then second year, it's all rotations. It's on the field. You know, emergency room, orthopedics. You're in the surgical room. You're cutting. You know, you're helping the surgeon. So the second year, it's actually less hectic. It's fun. But yeah, it's.
Yeah, that sounds very intense. 4 years jammed into 2 years. So I imagine that you had no life for those 2 years.
No. No.
Fitness and faith had to take a back seat, maybe family.
Yeah,
For a little bit.
and that's what they say, that you know the first year you need to kind of like let your family know that you won't be around for birthdays and all that, because you pretty much dedicate your whole first year. Second year is kind of a little better because you have a schedule with the hospital, with the clinic, and 9 to 5, but you still have to study. But you still have more of a social life in the second year. But I don't want to scare everyone from going to PA, because it is, but it's well worth it though. It could be, if I can do it, anybody can do it, So, and that's the thing. I think it's just hard. It's hard work. If you just keep, good work ethic, just keep going forward, learn, ask for help when you need it, you'll get through it. It's not, and I'm, if you need help, I'm there. I got colleagues that can help you too. The Dr. Perez, he's an MD. If you want to go the MD route, you can talk to him. So just I put my email in there, and you can.
So Abigail asked, would she email you for volunteer / shadow opportunity? And yes, Abigail, but again, you'll be kind of on a wait list, waiting for the COVID pause to go unpaused. Mm-hmm. And there was another comment or question I was going to ask, but
it's well, if you reach out to me, I'll just put you on a list that we have, and then once I get the okay, then boom, we'll get you in. We'll get you in on certain days, and you could do 2 hours, you could do 3 hours, whatever you can, and just to get you exposed. We do see at our clinic, we do see pediatrics from 2 weeks old all the way to patients who are 100 years old, and so we do see a big age. We do see a lot of things there. I did see leprosy there. It was crazy. Yeah. Yeah. So we do see quite a few diseases at our clinic. And we have N95. We'll get you set up.
That was going to be my question. Did you consider MD, and if so, why did you decide to go the PA route? I know you mentioned NP also.
Well, I'll still be going to school. Indeed.
That's right, you did say.
No, I just did at that time. It was in my 30s. Yeah, my 30s when I made that decision to go to a third career. So I think that as an MD, it would have taken me much longer. And I just didn't have the time. And that's the other thing too, is like, I want to help my family financially too. So I just couldn't do it for maybe another 8 years. And either 2 years or 8 years. So I decided PA school and the PA route. And that was, it's much quicker, it's faster, it's more intense, but it's pretty much do the same thing as, pretty much the same thing as the MD, but not surgeries or other procedures. But I mean, I'm by myself in the clinic, but you learn as you go. It's pretty much it's a paid residency in some ways, So
It's a what? I'm sorry.
Paid residency.
Mhm.
Like, after your medical school, you go to residence as an MD. But here we kind of learn as we go, because we have a supervising physician. There's always a supervisor above us he's a doctor. So whenever we need help, we can call him up.
Got it.
We call them SPs.
Okay. Well, I know that you may have a patient scheduled right now, so and want to respect the fact that it is 1 o'clock. I did ask him to keep the patient waiting, but he said no, patients first.
Let me go ahead. Get out of the patient. So any other questions?
No more questions in the chat. So again, thank you for those that are still left here. And thank you, Robert, for your time, for sharing your experience with us, and for being open to having our students contact you for further questions and mentoring.
For sure, anytime. And the thing is, I do ask, if you see me, and once you get into the medical field, you do the same thing once you're in. Once you become practicing in medicine, just pay it forward. That's what I ask. But if you want to contact me, there's my email. We'll get you in the clinic, shadow me whenever first chance is available, and then we'll work something out. Okay.
Excellent. Thank you so much for your time, and don't let so long go by before we talk again.
I know, another 10 years.
All right, everybody, have a great day.